Hello, the doc is in, and welcome back to another chapter of Tokyo Revengers, chapter 271, Empty Wish. Alright, in the last chapter, we're continuing on Shinichiro's, I wouldn't say backstory, let's say the main timeline. We're finding out about the main timeline. That's the main thing here. Alright, and so basically we come in in the aftermath of Mikey becoming a veggie, so to speak. I mean, that's not the technical term, but it's the word I'm using at this very time. But anyway, we're kind of seeing how Shinichiro, Baji, and Harachuyu, these people being the closest people to Mikey in his early age, we're kind of seeing how they're taking it. Shinichiro, he's basically devoted his whole life to taking care of Mikey. Harachuyu, I mean, he cares about Mikey very deeply, but he's still living his life, and so is Baji. And after Mikey dies, after kind of living as I think it's paraplegic is the technical term. I could be wrong. But after living that way for a couple of years, all the way up until middle school, he eventually passes away. Shinichiro's life kind of falls apart, but Wakasa, who's a Yakuza member at this time, he decides to come around Shinichiro. He kind of tries to cheer him up, keep him from, doing anything crazy, a little bit too much. And it ends up that while they're at the bar, some people who are there say some old guy said he was a time leaper. And so Shinichiro's like, "We're the time leaper at," and kicks all their asses. But he's like, "We're the time leaper at." And that's where we leave off last chapter. Let's begin this chapter. Need a little bit of backstory because this chapter is a little much. So chapter starts off, Shinichiro and Wakasa find the drunk guy, right? It seems like they got the information from the other people who were at the bar. And Shinichiro walks up to the guy and he's like, "Look, are you a time leaper? How the hell do I go back in time?" Right? And the drunk guy, he kind of just starts laughing all weird looking, right? And I don't know. I think the author has been drawing this guy's face for quite a while because he really dials up the detail on this guy's face. Like, this guy looks disgusting and gross, but he's homeless and he's a drunkard, so I mean, I guess that makes sense. But anyway, as Shinichiro's talking to the guy, right, Shinichiro's taking the situation very seriously. Obviously Wakasa's kind of not really playing along, but he's kind of humoring the situation. But he's kind of like, "All right, obviously this guy's just some homeless drunk guy, all right, we should get out of here, all right, this is weird." And Shinichiro's basically like, "You better behave me, young man, or I will kick your ass too." And Wakasa's like, "Yeah, that death stare, I'm not used to that. I'm gonna keep it pushing." And so he keeps it pushing. So Wakasa leaves, right? And Shinichiro keeps talking to the old guy. And so now it's the old guy and Shinichiro by themselves. Old guy is basically like, "Hey, I'm not just giving these powers over to anyone, all right? It wasn't even easy to get these powers in the first place." And so he explains, "Hey, if you want to get these powers, you're gonna have to do that." And so Shinichiro's like, "Do what? What I gotta do?" And so the drunk guy is kind of walking away, and he's like, "You don't even know what that is? Well, I'm Biauti." And so as he's walking away, Shinichiro's like, "What is that? What do I gotta do? I'll do anything." And so the old guy, as he's walking away, not none the wiser, but he's kind of just like, "Oh, well, me personally, when I wanted to get the powers, I had to kill the guy in front of me to get the powers. I mean, that's a trade I made. If you're not willing to do that, what can I say?" And so Shinichiro says, "Betteth." And so he kills the guy. He pulls the Kazuturo, gets the angle going, goes full twist of the body, and he cracks the guy upside the head. Guy falls on the floor, he's bleeding out, and the guy is laughing, and and the old guy is kind of like with a crazy eye and everything. He's kind of just like, "Oh, so you decide that you'll kill me to get these powers." And so Shinichiro just there's no better way to put it. He basically bludgeons the guy to death with a metal pipe, and eventually the guy dies, and that's that. I mean, it really is as morbid. There's no way to make it not sound like absolutely morbid and insane. But yeah, he kills the homeless guy, and now he's like, well, I got the powers now, right? So I'm gonna go back to the past. And now he's just kind of sitting there. He's like, I'm not going back in time. I just murdered a guy to go back in time, and I didn't even go back in time. And so you can imagine, that probably weighs on a guy's mind. I just killed a man to achieve my goals, and I didn't even achieve my goals. So why in the world did I kill a guy? Am I insane? And yeah, probably. But anyway, we cut to the next day, right? And so Baji and Sanzu, they're talking to each other, and basically Sanzu's like, I got a bad feeling about Shinichiro. I think I'm gonna go check on him. And so he goes over there to go check on him, and I guess as he's walking, he passes by this bridge, and Shinichiro's standing at the top of the bridge. And basically, Shinichiro's gonna jump into the water and die. And this day is the anniversary of Mikey's accident. And so he's like, as he's kind of staring out, he's like prepared to like jump off this bridge into this stream while it's raining, mind you. So he's probably just gonna drown and everything, and it could be rocks and stuff in there. Like, he's gonna die. And so he proclaims, as he's looking out into the distance or whatever, he's like, I want to go back to that day. Crazy panel. And then he just hops off, and Sanzu's running over there. He wants to save Shinichiro, but he doesn't get there in time. The guy falls in, and that's it. Or so we thought. He sinks to the bottom of the water. There's like a little kind of thing going on, and then boom, Mikey's playing with his airplane, and Shinichiro's just vibing out on the couch. And so that is the end of the chapter. We have just time leaped. Very morbid chapter. I mean, it's a good chapter, don't get me wrong. This is a really good chapter. Eat your heart out, all Tokyo Revengers haters. Eat your heart out. Peak. I mean, well, not peak, but it's pretty good. But yeah, the first part of the chapter, heavy. But there's definitely a lot of implications with how this goes down. And obviously there's like, besides the whole morbidity of this, it pretty much is like very clearly stated here that how time linking powers work in this universe. And it seems we get an idea for what are the circumstances before for your first time leaping. It seems, or at least maybe some variation of it. So first off, it seems that the rules are, as straightly put, you gotta kill the guy who has time leaping powers to get time leaping powers. Once you kill him, then you have the powers. And of course, as we know, pretty much there has to be a trigger for you to go back in time. But even that's kind of not questioned, but I guess you could say elaborated upon maybe here, where we have Shinichiro, he kills the guy, right? And so at first, when we see him kind of preparing to jump off this bridge, right, and everything, I'm thinking, okay, there's a possibility that Sanzu gets to Shinichiro in time and he's able to grab him, and that allows him to go back on time. But that might not be the case. And so you may say, well, why is that? Well, simply put, all we see in the end of the chapter before he actually goes back in time is that he jumps into the water, he's sinking down into the water, and then next time he opens his eyes, he's back in time. Now, there's two ways to go. Either this follows a similar path to where the first time you time leap, I wouldn't say it's like a freebie, but in a sense, it's like, okay, when you go back in time, it can be because you have really strong feelings about an event and you're going to die. Maybe there's like a death, like kind of like, I guess you could say like similar to like, I guess you could say like maybe like a One Piece or a Power of Friendship, where if you have strong feelings about how you're about stuff before you die, you can keep pushing on. And so in this case, maybe it's like you become your own trigger if you're going to die. Or maybe you could say like death is a trigger in this case instead of what's it called, a person, therefore making it so that you can go back in time, but then also make it so that if you don't change back in time, then you can't go back to the future because you'll just be dead, right? But there's another way this could go. Based on the paneling here, we see him jump in. The first panel, he's sinking, he's by himself. Then we see his hand off panel with the rest of his body also off panel, knowing that Sanzu was there. And then he goes back in time. It is possible that Sanzu's the trigger for Shinichiro. I guess it wouldn't have to be the first time. It could be multiple times. But he's the first trigger for Shinichiro. And Sanzu tries to save Shinichiro and grabs his hand. And because they both have strong feelings about Mikey, that allows him to go back in time. It's possible, but that's not 100%. And it, to a certain degree, it's tough. That saying that Sanzu's the one who is the first trigger is tough, and we'll definitely get an explanation for that next chapter. Because if Sanzu's the first trigger, then he would remember the original timeline and all that jazz. So yeah. But I think that's a good place to end off this chapter. Like I said, intense chapter, but very good chapter. Not all being said, leave a like if you like, leave a dislike if you dislike. Comment. Do you think Sanzu's the first trigger, or do you think there is no trigger if a time leaper is going to die and they desire to still go back in time or change things, whatever that might mean? Leave that in the comments. Feel free to subscribe if you want to. You want to see more videos like these on Tokyo Revengers, along with other series, Jujutsu Kaisen, Black Clover, etc. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you want to see me cover more stuff, feel free to leave that in the comments. Ring the notification bell. You know the works. Thank you for watching the video all the way up to this point, or skipping to this point because you're a weirdo. The doc is out. Peace.